Oscar continues to churn over Cuba with additional tropical storm warnings now in effect for the Bahamas, and a large tropical wave will bring unsettled weather to the eastern Caribbean. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We are your home for Caribbean weather, and it's great to see you on a Monday. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great weekend. Jam-packed video coming up. All the newest information on Tropical Storm Oscar. We'll talk about what it's been doing to Cuba today with a lot of heavy flooding rains. The now additional tropical storm warnings in effect for the Bahamas. We'll look at a large tropical wave impacting the eastern Caribbean and why I think the end of the month into early November could be very active tropically in our area. As always, I'd love to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comments section below where you're viewing from, what the weather has been like. We'll get right into it. Here's what's been happening with Oscar over the last 24 hours. The center of circulation has basically been inland for the past 24 hours. And I know it doesn't look very impressive on satellite imagery right now, but the big story for eastern Cuba has been the amount of rain. There's been reports of up to 15 inches of rain on the eastern tip of Cuba. As you can see, they're still getting some solid tropical storm wind gusts at the hour. The center of circulation is about ready to emerge back off of the north coast of Cuba and then move through the central and the southeast Bahamas throughout Tuesday and into early on Wednesday. One change is now the central Bahamas are also under a tropical storm warning. That's been upgraded from a tropical storm watch. So the entire central and southeast Bahamas are under tropical storm warnings as Oscar moves through. The 5 o'clock advisory, and we'll take a look at the 2 o'clock track, but I am recording this after the 5 o'clock advisory. Winds are 40 miles an hour. Pressure's 1,004. It's moving north-northwest at 7. No change really from the 5 o'clock advisory on this timing and track. Again, basically bisecting the central and the northeast Bahamas throughout, or southeast Bahamas, excuse me, throughout tomorrow early on Wednesday. The only difference is now the central Bahamas are under that tropical storm warning. We'll talk about how this could impact Bermuda coming up, but it might end up becoming a hybrid or extratropical system before it reaches Bermuda, but that doesn't mean that Bermuda won't get some wind and rain out of the storm. Now again, there is a lot of drier air on the western side of Oscar. That's the cold front that came in, so there's not a lot of rain on the western side. So look, even though the central Bahamas have been upgraded to a tropical storm warning, I'm still not expecting the central Bahamas to get a lot of rain. They could get more wind as Oscar passes by, but it is going to still be a heavy rainmaker for eastern Cuba, southeast Bahamas, and even portions of the Turks, the Caicos. Guys, look at this. Look at these thunderstorms flaring up there near the Caicos at the hour. Look at these lightning strikes here. I mean, the Caicos are going to get hammered again with some very heavy rain. We've had some flooding issues across the southeast Bahamas and portions of the Turks, the Caicos. So watch out for some elevated water. If you guys live in this area, let me know how it's going there. And again, eastern Cuba really getting hammered here by the amount of rain. So winds aren't forecast to get much stronger in the storm. We'll take a look at all this coming up. But again, you know, a weaker tropical storm moving across the Bahamas over the next 36 hours. So I'm going to have a lot more on Oscar in the forecast coming up. Stick around for that. Let's get into what's been happening across the rest of our area here. Now in the northwest Bahamas, we've got this tropical storm and the impacts just to the south and to the east. Well, guess what? It's been a beautiful day across the northwest Bahamas. It's been very windy, okay? And actually, the Bahamas Department of Meteorology is talking about sea conditions across the entire Bahamas that could be 3 to 5 feet near shore, 5 to 7 on the western side of the island, and then 8 to 10 foot seas when you get into the exposed water of the Atlantic. And that includes the northwest Bahamas. So they are recommending small craft remain in port through Tuesday. So even if we're not getting directly impacted by Oscar, you're certainly seeing some elevated sea conditions because of it. My friends in Jamaica, a lot of you have asked me, Rusty, am I going to be impacted by Oscar? Overall, the answer is no. We are going to get just a little bit of rain coming in. But again, Oscar's center is moving north away from you. Okay, but we're still trying to get a little bit of shower activity to drift over the island. We're getting a few isolated thunderstorms to develop late on this Monday afternoon, right in the interior portions of the island near the Linstead area. Overall, rain chances aren't going to be significantly high in this area over the next couple of days, but again, just a slightly better chance because of your proximity to Oscar. But again, Oscar is moving away. We're dry through the Cayman Islands on this Monday. Central and the western sides of Cuba are dry. We've had no rain today in Quintana Roo. Again, when I switch over to the water vapor imagery, look at all of this deep red into play, well south of where it typically is here in October. But again, more moisture will be coming back in. Now you get to the south, and guess what? Places in Belize have gotten more showers post Nadine for today, even a few lightning strikes. This is not good news for Belize, which had about 100, 200 millimeters in a lot of spots rainfall wise as Nadine came through, and they're still dealing with some kind of secondary flooding issues. Appreciate our friends here in the Belize area sending in these photos to keep us up to date with the flooding. This is from Richard L. in the Cayo district of Belize. This is the Iguana Creek Bridge over the Belize River. And you can see that the flooding is well over the actual roadway there. So flooding continues. And again, a lot of this can be, over days and in some areas even over weeks as the water goes from the higher elevations and gets down into these lower areas and into the rivers. Eduardo sent additional urban flooding here, the Corozal district of Belize. You can clearly see that, just a lot of standing water and unfortunately getting into some buildings, getting into some homes. So our friends in Belize, our thoughts are with you guys. Please let us know how you've been impacted, how things are going in your area right now. It's really interesting because this is kind of moisture feeding back into the Pacific. And there's actually not a lot of rain overall for the Yucatan and Central America. It just happens to be over areas that don't need to get any more showers. You can see this broad spin here in the Eastern Pacific. We've had some scattered showers, but not a lot of heavy rain for Nicaragua and Honduras and back down towards Costa Rica and into Panama. Now, we've had some rain coming back over the eastern sides from Oscar for Haiti and the Dominican Republic. If nothing else, some cloud coverage for today, but there's been some spotty showers, even a few rumbles of thunder down towards the Lacaille area there on the peninsula of Haiti. A few showers towards Santiago de los Caballeros, Puerto Plata, Samana areas. And we're also seeing, again, a bit of activity kind of trying to flare back up over Puerto Rico in the U.S. and British Virgin Islands as well. Let me bring back on those wind gusts, and you'll start to see some winds here freshening a bit over the USVI and the BVI, 20-25 miles an hour. We've got a good 33-mile-an-hour gust over Ponce. It's going to be over San Juan. About a 20-mile-an-hour wind gust over Ponce. A few showers towards Aguadilla, Mayaguez, Uti Alto areas. Trying to get a few showers to flare up over St. Croix and St. Thomas and St. John. And again, isolated over the British Virgin Islands. So if you've got some of these showers, let me know. Now, as I expand this out, the weather in this area is going to get more active thanks to this large-scale tropical wave. Look, it's not going to wrap up and become a depression or a storm, but this is a huge feature that's going to have wide impacts over the next 2 to 3 days. It's going to bring very fresh winds. It's going to really kick up the sea conditions and bring some heavier downpours. And kind of the western edge of this has snuck into the Windward Islands on this Monday. We've had scattered showers and a few rumbles of thunder develop over Trinidad and Tobago. Port of Spain had a nice 30-mile-an-hour wind gust there. Hazardous sea yellow condition alert has been allowed to expire, but you never know if that's kind of put back into place for Trinidad and Tobago. I'll be monitoring that. Scattered showers are trying to spiral into St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Grenada at the hour. We're going to have some active weather over Barbados. Bridgetown had a 45-mile-an-hour wind gust earlier today. You can see that with some lashing rain coming in with those squalls, and it's going to get more active here. Swells are going to be a concern across this area, and even up towards St. Lucia and Martinique. Again, winds have been 30, 35 miles an hour from time to time. Let me go over to the visible satellite imagery. You can see some of those showers quickly working their way in. We've had some spottier rain for the northern side of the Lesser Antilles from Dominica North, Guadeloupe, Montserrat, Antigua, Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, Saba, St. Eustatius. St. Bart's had a 25-mile-an-hour wind, St. Martin over towards Anguilla. And again, there's going to be just more active weather overall in this area to come over the next few days, and we'll look at that. Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao had a little bit of rain overnight into earlier this morning. We had a beautiful shot sent in by Jaden, Curacao area from this morning. Look at that rainbow, guys. Hopefully you got some of that rain and you get that picturesque shot there in Curacao from this early Monday morning. Friends, as we get into the forecast, appreciate you guys liking this video. If you haven't subscribed to Meteo Mundo, appreciate you hitting that subscribe button right now. Thank you for joining our Meteo Mundo community. You guys are awesome. Thank you to all of our old subscribers, all of our new subscribers, everyone. Thank you for supporting the channel, sharing this with your family and friends. You can find our memberships that are just 99 cents a month. That's the join button. And of course, you can always support the channel via the super thanks and other ways in the description below. As we get into the forecast, let's talk about the overall 2024 season real fast. Oscar's the 15th named storm. We have quickly gotten up to 15 named storms after being very quiet mid-August to mid-September. We're up to 10 hurricanes, which is well in that range from the NOAA forecast, 4 of those being major hurricanes. And friends, I gotta say, I don't think we're done. I think there's certainly the opportunity to get into that range of named storms from the NOAA forecast earlier this season. So we've kind of talked about what's been happening with Oscar. Let's talk about the forecast overall. First thing we'll look at here, I'm actually going to bring up the GFS model. A couple of different models to look at here that we'll get into. So let me bring up the GFS. We can actually look at the HRRR model as well, the high resolution model. It's just kind of on the southeast domain of that HRRR model. But they're all in relatively good agreement. Now, the first thing you'll notice here on the GFS is that it remains a fairly weak, sloppy system. When I pause this as it comes off the Cuba coastline into tomorrow morning early, you will see what I'm talking about with the rain, that the highest rain is going to fall along the center track into the east. So again, Mayaguana and the Acklins and Inagua and the Turks, the Caicos will have a much better chance for heavier rain and potential flooding compared to Long Island, Exuma, Rumkey, San Salvador, and Cat Island, even though you guys are under tropical storm warnings. There's so much dry air on the western side of the storm. If there's going to be tropical storm impacts for the central Bahamas, it's going to be the wind. Now, rainfall is not a tropical storm condition, but I just want to again mention that the 3 to 5 plus inches of rain that could fall are going to be along the center track and off towards the east. But there'll be a lot of wind on the western side as well. That's why we have the tropical storm warning. And again, this storm kind of gets met by a non-tropical low just to the west of Bermuda. And it'll be interesting to see how those two features interact. I don't expect this to be a true tropical storm as it gets closer to Bermuda as we go into Wednesday and Thursday. But that doesn't mean Bermuda won't have some at least decent impacts with some wind-driven rain and some squalls. So we'll be monitoring the situation very closely for our friends in the Bermuda area. But in the short term, of course, it is about the central, the southeast Bahamas, Cuba. Now, thankfully, this storm is going to finally pull away from Cuba. But the official forecast, again, we have already had 15 inches of rain on the eastern tip of Cuba, and we could end up with a grand total of 20 inches. The amount of flooding and landslide and mudslide activity in Cuba could be, unfortunately, extreme on the eastern side of the island here. We got to get this storm away from that area. Now, as far as winds go, here is the GFS model. It's going to keep the storm relatively weak. If we look at the official forecast here, right near the Acklins, it has it as a 45-mile-an-hour weak tropical storm. Again, strongest winds will be on the eastern side as well. There'll still be some, lashes of heavier wind on the western side, so I don't want to discount that, but certainly still expecting the Acklins and Mayaguana to get a little bit more activity as far as the wind goes. When we look at this on the GFS model, we're even picking up slightly weaker winds there. If I back it up just a little bit, it's going to be slightly stronger here. This is tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. We are getting, 40-ish in a couple of spots here, but it's a weak tropical storm, and with it fighting the drier air, I think we can discount a little bit any of the models that try and ramp this up too strong. A couple of the models do try and get this back into a higher end tropical storm as it moves through the central and southeast Bahamas, but there's not a lot of time as well. It will start to pick up forward speed, and the impacts from the islands and from Oscar will begin to wane on Wednesday. Now, again, let's be clear. 7 to 10 foot seas offshore throughout all of the Bahamas tomorrow. Small craft are going to want to remain in port. When I switch over to the HRRR model, which is again a high resolution model here, in the domain of the HRRR model, there we go, the HRRR model, you can see that the domain just basically the southeast side slips into where the track is. So we can look at that. So I'm going to loop up the winds here. It's just kind of an interesting feature. I noted this right before I started recording this video. It actually almost picks up a piece of energy off of that old frontal boundary and tries to bring in dry air, but higher winds into portions of the central Bahamas. So I think that's one reason why we actually saw the upgrade to the central Bahamas was kind of based off of some of the model data here. You notice that on the HRRR model, the winds are stronger here. And as a matter of fact, and I don't know why, to be honest, there's all these little perturbations, but right near the San Salvador area, you can see that there's a little blip here of winds even approaching nearly 50 miles an hour. Now, that's not out of bounds, considering the Hurricane Center has it at a 45-mile-an-hour storm, but the wind field on this HRRR model is much wider in nature, but the air is still going to be dry. This would be just really strong winds for, again, the central Bahamas, but still not a lot of rain. All right, if I switch over to the reflectivity here, even on this HRRR model, and bring that up and loop it up, you'll see that it throws in a fair amount of rain to the area, but still kind of, and again, we're right on the edge of this, still kind of favoring the southeast Bahamas for the lingering rain, and the rain that will be more than likely heavier overall. But the center of circulation is a little bit farther west on the HRRR, so there's at least an initial burst of rain early tomorrow morning here in these areas, and then you can see that Iguana, especially in the Acklands, kind of stay with more rain overall. But it's an interesting solution on the HRRR model. We'll see if this plays out, and again, we'll see if these squalls come in. But the bottom line is, you know, in this area, at least for a time, we could have some very heavy wind-driven rain across the central southeast Bahamas. All right. Now, if I switch over to the GFS model and we look at the amount of rain that could fall, you're going to still see a little bit more of a sharper line of the rain totals from north to south, right? With much lower rainfall totals in the central Bahamas, but right along the center track and east, look at these numbers here. Official forecast is 3 to 5, locally up to 10. For the Acklands here in the GFS, it's over 10. Obviously, please watch out for any flash flooding. Iguana, you know, again, is this 5 inches going to fall just offshore, or is it going to fall over the islands? I think we're too low here in the Turks and the Caicos, but a few more inches of rain could fall there. Same thing for the Inagua area. And then again, I do expect there to be lower amounts Exuma, especially up towards Cat Island. San Salvador is close enough, Rum Key, southern sides of Long Island, where there could be pockets of heavier rain there. If we look at this same product, here on the HRRR, and I go out to a single frame, and we look at that, you can clearly see that the rainfall totals on the HRRR model are much more exceptional in the central Bahamas. So we have to see how this plays out, right? Even towards San Salvador, a lot more rain. I don't necessarily buy this HRRR model as dry as the air is in the central Bahamas right now, but I wanted to put this out there for informational purposes. And I think that, again, that's one reason why, with the winds potentially a little bit more expansive in the central Bahamas, you guys are now under a tropical storm warning compared to a tropical storm watch. Now, I apologize. That should say tropical storm, Oscar. I do apologize for that. It's not going to become a hurricane again. Cross your fingers, more than likely, right? But the impact areas, eastern Cuba, southeast, central Bahamas, rainfall potential, that's the big problem for Cuba, locally up to 20 inches of rain. Southeast Bahamas officially forecast 3 to 5, up to 8, and then a fairly wide area of tropical storm force winds. Now, in the European model, it behaves itself kind of like the GFS and what the Hurricane Center has, keeping this as a weaker tropical storm, basically, again, bisecting the central and the southeast Bahamas and then moving away towards Bermuda. The half-stay tries to get a little bit stronger, but remember the half-stay also had it as a Category 3 as it moved to Cuba and it stayed a Cat 1. But if you look at the bottom right-hand side of your screen, it tries to make it a high-end tropical storm as it moves through the islands and then just kind of off towards Bermuda, but weakening again just a little bit. But it tries to wrap it up in a fast way here over the next 24 hours. So I'm hitting all the wrong buttons here. I don't think this is going to happen. I think all the dry air coming in is not going to allow that core to get that strong again. But again, the wind field could be even a little bit more expansive than what we're seeing in these spots. Now, if I go back over to the GFS model here, and we're going to get into the rest of the forecast for everyone else, But just to kind of expand this out to Bermuda real quick, and go back over to the reflectivity, and then loop this up, you can see that even though this kind of elongates itself, we could still have a pretty good shield of wind and rain over Bermuda. Again, probably Wednesday and early Thursday. We'll take a look at the timing, and I'm going to keep you guys updated on that. So now let's get into the forecast for everyone else. We'll go island by island, and then we'll talk about why I think we're going to have ourselves a pretty active end of the month tropically close to home. Again, this is a large tropical wave that'll be moving into the Eastern Caribbean. Big time widespread impacts for wind, squalls, kicked up sea conditions, and pockets of very heavy rain. And again, this is not associated with Oscar as Oscar moves away, but we are going to get ourselves a lot of rain in this area. We're actually going to dry out a bit in the Western Caribbean in the short term, and then we'll see that rain chance come back up here as we get over the end of the week and into next weekend. But in the shorter term, it is going to be about some of the rain coming back into the Lesser Antilles overall. There's going to be pockets of very heavy rain. There's going to be those wind gusts. We've had them the last couple of afternoons. 30, 40, even 45 plus mile an hour wind gusts coming in here with the showers and storms. Of course, it's not going to be for everyone. You may not get a ton of rain over the next few days, but the rain chance overall is going to be high from Trinidad and Tobago through Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, passing showers and breezy conditions for Martinique, Dominica, Montserrat, Antigua, Barbuda. Again, all nice solid rain chances here, gusty winds, elevated sea conditions. There's a high surf advisory, by the way, for the Lesser Antilles at the hour as well. See if there's anything else to pass along. Barbados, 5 to 8 foot swells are expected. So again, rougher sea conditions. We'll see the scattered rain over the U.S. and British Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. Higher rain chances coming for the Dominican Republic and Haiti as well. Now, it's going to get a little bit quieter for Jamaica in the Cayman Islands. Still could see some spotty showers and storms here, but overall, not expecting there to be a high rain chance each and every afternoon. It's been great to hear from some of you guys in Jamaica who said, hey, Rusty, we've actually caught some rain very late in the day. I hope that continues to be the evolution over the next few days, but we're not going to have any large-scale tropical features to bring in an abundant amount of moisture. Same thing for the Cayman Islands. And again, after some heavier rain still possible tomorrow for Belize, in Guatemala and Honduras, I do expect those areas to dry out a bit. So let's go island by island. Again, it's very interesting to have a 20% chance of rain tomorrow for the Northwest Bahamas and a near certainty rain for the Central and the Southeast Bahamas. Obviously, as Oscar moves away, rain chances will fall in the Central and the Southeast side. Turks and Caicos, again, good rain chance tomorrow, drier Wednesday, Thursday. Cuba, it really just depends on where you are in the island. Eastern sides will stay wet through tomorrow, and then just more scattered in nature throughout the island on Wednesday, Thursday. Cayman Islands, isolated rain chances. Belize City, 40% chance tomorrow, drier Wednesday, Thursday. Not a lot of rain expected in Cancun and Cozumel. For Jamaica, it's a 30% chance on your Tuesday. Cross your fingers, Wednesday, Thursday, we're up to a 40% chance. Dominican Republic's rain chances just continue to climb. Puerto Rico, a 30% chance for tomorrow, 60 on Wednesday, 70 on Thursday. Again, some fresh winds as well, 20 to 25 mile an hour winds, but some higher gusts. U.S. and British Virgin Islands will get on the wetter side. Bermuda, again, wet, stormy. We'll see if this is an extra tropical cyclone coming your way again. Potentially not a full tropical storm with Oscar moving in, but still some tropical storm-like impacts. Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Martin, places like that, 50, 60, 70. Antigua and Barbuda's rain chances are high. Again, just really high rain chances overall. Even a little bit higher for Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, and then higher tomorrow for St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. As the moisture lifts north, the rain chances will fall there Wednesday, Thursday, but still remain elevated. Martinique north, Dominique, Guadeloupe, Thursday, still looking pretty good, 50, 60. Barbados, best rain chances tomorrow, 70% chance, 50 Wednesday, 40 Thursday. Grenada's rain chances are elevated in the next couple of days. Trinidad, Tobago, good chance tomorrow, falls off a bit, but still 40 on Thursday. Suriname and Guyana with high rain chances, some locally heavy rain expected there. Nueva Esparta, 40 to a 30% chance the next couple of days. Not as much rain over the ABC Islands, but still the opportunity for a few spots here and there. Speaking of that rainfall, This is the European model. I showed you some of the GFS. And again, you can clearly see what Oscar is going to bring. And then you start to see that rain fill back in. And again, we could see additional heavier rain here late in the week into early next week. Most of this will not be falling over the next 3 days, but days 4, 5, 6, and 7 could get wet again in the Western Caribbean. That sets up what again could be more active tropical weather, and we could continue to see the opportunity for some heavier rain down here. As a matter of fact, I'm just gonna move myself off camera for 1 second because I wanna go back over to our weather computer here before we get into the tropical outlook. And if I go back over to the GFS rainfall totals, you again can clearly see that we're still favoring the Windward Islands overall for the opportunity for some heavier rain. And those rainfall totals in these spots could tail 3, 4, 5 inches. But even like St. Vincent, again, a couple of inches here, and you get, again, localized heavier rain. I think the GFS is underdoing it a bit, but I just wanted to point this out that, again, there's more wet weather coming to the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, a few inches of rain. This is just over the next 5 days, guys. Same thing for our friends in the Dominican Republic and Haiti, a couple of spots that are going to pick up more than a few inches. And then you just don't see as much rain for Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. And even into Central America here, we'll just have to see how much we could get. But 3, 4, 5 inches of rain is not out of the question. But most of that, again, falling not until late into the week. Okay, now we want to get into, that's the European rain. I'm just going to let that loop up one more time, jump back on camera here. And again, I'll let that pause. But if we look, here's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's when this all starts to pick back up. And this leads into, oh dear Lord, hang on. See when I mess with something in the middle of the video, this is what happens sometimes. This leads into what could happen tropically in the Caribbean as we get towards the end of the month. All right, GFS ensemble members, very quiet through the week ahead, but starting next week, a lot of signals for homegrown potential development. Same scenario as we had with Helene, and the same scenario that we just had with Nadine, where on the eastern side of the Central American gyre, we try and spin up something tropically. Again, the GFS kind of talking about the Central and the Western Caribbean, more than likely this would just be one system, but you can see that we have a lot of varying solutions when we're this far out. But again, we're only talking about, 9, 10 days from now, right? Look, the European model goes 15 days out. The GFS model can go out nearly a full 3 weeks, just depending on the model run we're looking at. If we look at the European model, the other reason why I'm bringing this to your attention is now for 3 days in a row, both global models, the GFS and the European, have shown this. And again, this would be basically very late on the 31st of October. And the European model is even more clustered here. And again, more than likely, this will just be one storm, but obviously we have different members painting on different intensities in different locations. This is something in the Central and Western Caribbean I will be closely monitoring here, but just for informational purposes. Again, you know how we stair step it. We don't get crazy with things here at Meteo Mundo, but looking at this for 3 days in a row, I think it's worth mentioning that down the road, I'm going to be watching, again, close to home development. We're not going to be watching a wave way out there in the Atlantic and watching this storm. This would be exactly what Nadine did and try and develop very close to home here in the Caribbean. Friends, I appreciate you guys. Follow me across all of social media here at Meteo Mundo, Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook. You want to send me a picture or video, and I do appreciate those, mymeteomundo@gmail.com. You have a specific question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comment section below. While you're down there, again, thank you for liking and subscribing. Friends, have a great rest of your Monday. I'm back tomorrow with all the newest information about your forecast right here at Meteo Mundo.